Welcome to the One Person Business Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Carly Reese.
And I'm Joe Rando.
And Joe, you and I spend all day, every day working with solopreneurs to create a business that fits their lifestyle. And along with that, that comes from usually leaving the corporate world unless you start off as a solopreneur. And it's funny because I actually posted a LinkedIn post this morning about what courage it takes to become a solopreneur. And I don't think that gets enough credit, which is why I'm so excited for our guest today. Kate Walker is here. And you guys, Joe, we need like a round of applause button or something. We don't have that with our audio setup, I don't think. But she has just launched a book this week. We're recording this on October 27th. On Tuesday of this week, she launched A Candid Conversation, Lessons in Life, Love, and Leadership. And we're going to talk about her journey into leaving the corporate world and becoming her own boss. And she's going to share little tools and tidbits that she learned along the way, both with having that courage to jump ship, but also balancing a personal life and everything that goes into that. So Kate, before we get into our questions, we're just so excited to have you. And we just want to extend such a huge congratulations. Launching a book is such a big deal. So welcome to the show.
Done.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Carly and Joe. Great to be here. Thank you.
Are you doing anything to celebrate?
Not writing on the weekends. That's my celebration.
That is huge.
Yes.
That's enough for me. Well, I will take it. And Kate, you do have such an interesting story, which is why I'm so excited that you wrote this book. And full disclosure, I have not read it yet, but I have purchased it. So I'm very excited to read this book just because I think it sounds so interesting. But when I think of you and everything you've done that has led you to your new book, I think, again, of courage. And I really want to talk to you about that before we dive into the rest of the questions. So can you give us your background and kind of a sneak peek into what the book is about?
Yes. Okay. So I'll give you a little bit of business background. Well, maybe I'll start a little bit before business, but I'm a California girl, grew up in Sacramento, and then I went to San Diego for college. And had a wonderful experience down there. I couldn't really find a career in San Diego, unfortunately, after graduation. So I made my way to Los Angeles, where I got into the entertainment industry. And I thought I might have a career in the music industry or entertainment, but just found that LA maybe wasn't the right spot for me. So continued my journey north, where I also had met a boy who lived up north. So I moved for career and relationship. And then by complete accident, I was temping when I first moved to the Bay Area, and a friend who was at a temp agency sent me to a biotech firm. And I just come out of like glamorous Hollywood music industry. She sent me to a biotech firm to temp in the HR department. And I wondered, what am I doing here? This feels very wrong. But I grew to be very intrigued by human resources. I thought, I've never heard of this before. It sounded kind of weird, but I really like how you work with everybody at the company. So I thought, I think I'm onto something, but I don't know that a biotech firm is really my spot. I feel like I'm more creative services minded. Creative industry feels more appealing to me. So by chance, but maybe not by chance, I found a job in HR at an ad agency. And kind of the rest is history. I had a great boss there, and I loved working with creative services people and learning and growing. So that was kind of the start of my HR career. And I've been in HR for now a couple of decades, and have learned to really love working with leaders and working with teams and working with leaders and teams dynamics. And there can be a lot of breakdown in a team, different breakdown areas. And I am fascinated by that. And I love to be a little bit of a fixer in those scenarios. So that became a little bit of my wheelhouse. And then I can tell you more about why I quit after these fantastic corporate jobs. But I was there for a long time, learned a ton, met a lot of great people, and had a tremendous experience. And then in another department of my life was in a relationship and got married and had some children. So that was all going on as well. But that's a little bit of my career in a nutshell.
And so then can you take us kind of to present day? It's so funny. I got so wrapped up in your story because, Joe, you know this. My whole college career, I wanted to be a talent agent. So all of my internships were at agencies in LA and
cool.
and production studios and all of that. Moved out there after college, realized quickly it wasn't for me. Fell into the advertising world. So when you were talking, I was like, hey, this is my bio. You give it back.
Yeah. It's like, maybe we know each other.
Exactly.
Maybe we work together.
Well, so take us to present day, because you're talking about your corporate experience, but you were obviously not in the corporate world anymore. So what happened? And how did you ultimately decide this isn't for me, I'm leaving?
Yes, I think there were a few things at play. One of them was knowing I really love the human resources functional areas. There's so much good work that we do. And I know HR sometimes gets a rap like, oh, the HR police, or, oh, I got to call HR. Really, it's a fantastic career. It's a fantastic people work in it. So I really loved it. But I also knew that in HR, we're doing many, many things. And I was growing to like doing a few different things, more coaching, more teamwork, team dynamics. So I thought, do I really want to continue a career and keep going up the ladder, like running these whole departments? And I thought, I don't know that that's really where I want to go. I want to work in where I really love. And I couldn't see that in the corporate setting. And I thought, I think I might have to go out on my own to do what I want to do, to get a little more narrow, a little more niche in what I wanted to do. So I had that going in my mind, and and then it sparks, and you know this, and you've got to start thinking about, what are the tactical ways that I can do this? How do I actually leave? Like, what's the game plan? And then the other component, so there's tactical, and then there's the mindset. Like, do I have the strength in my mind and my brain to really have the courage and take a risk to do this? Because quite frankly, I'm comfortable and I love my coworkers, and I get my paycheck and I get my benefits. So why am I doing this again? So it can be a mind game as well. But I knew that to do what I wanted to do, and you talked about this earlier in the kickoff, having that kind of identifying with your values. For me, I'm like, I need some freedom and I need some flexibility in my life. And I knew that I needed to make a change to go and try to pursue those things. So that was a little bit of the impetus to the why behind it.
So you really just walked away from a perfectly good job.
Yes, I did.
Because so many people will get laid off, or something happens, and they have a disagreement and quit. And
Can't stand my boss.
Yeah, and you just went, no,
Yeah.
I love this, but I love this idea more. That's cool.
I did. And to add on to that, I did it during COVID. I did it during the pandemic.
Lots of
too,
stability
so
then.
I was really extra. I was extra crazy. I know, like this was really, and I had to send a kid to college in 4 months, I think it was. So I had a lot, but I really knew that it was a strong pull just to say, no, I got this. I can do this. I've laid some groundwork. Let's go and try this. The other thing I have talked about too is there's a woman I follow online. Her name is Catherine Zemkina, and she had quit her corporate job, and she called it the 1-year experiment, where she thought, okay, I think if I quit corporate, but at least gave myself the year, I'll call it the 1-year experiment. I can try it. And if the experiment fails, then I can go back. And that actually was in my mind as well, thinking, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, I can leave too. And if it doesn't work out, I can just go back. So that was a concept that was also helpful for me.
Yeah, well, so it's funny. One of our personas at our company, Lifestar, if you see Joe's shirt, is this gal, aspiring Anna. And it's kind of people in the situation where they want to become solopreneurs, but just haven't quite made that leap, or like kind of going through the things that you were going through when you're like, is it like benefits? I mean, you need those benefits, and so many people rely on that. What tips do you have for these people that are like, I mean, it's scary.
It is scary. And to say it's not scary would be lying. I definitely had days where I'm like, what have I done? My nervous system is like on high alert. Like, what have I done? This is crazy. So you really can't have those moments of sheer panic. But if you, again, kind of that tactical, like, okay, how will I set up this business? Like, what's the just a basic infrastructure? How am I going to pay my bills? Do I have like a year runway to pay my bill? And then it's that mindset game. And that is maybe that's been the most, call it a challenge and an opportunity for me, is just managing the mind when it just feels like, even a couple months after quitting corporate, I'm on LinkedIn looking in the job, looking for full-time jobs, being tempted. And I took a couple phone calls from people who were trying to recruit me just to say, should I go back? Like me, I don't know. Do I go to a different company? Do I try something else? So I did dabble a little bit, but still felt like once I found my, I thought I was going to do one specific thing and leaving corporate, but ended up doing something a little bit different. So once that formula kind of dropped in, I'm like, I could exhale a little bit and say, okay, I've got my formula, just keep going. And I think that's one thing the two of you probably would endorse as well, of like, you just have to keep going.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm a very concrete person, and it's a very common story of kind of starting out doing A and then doing, B or C or whatever. Can you, would it be possible to explain a little bit about what you plan to do versus what you wound up doing?
Yes, absolutely. I thought that I would be doing full-time executive coaching. So I thought I would have full-time one-on-one clients, and that would book up my roster. So that was the idea. And when I left my corporate job, here's another crazy thing. I didn't have any clients. I had 0 clients and I left. So, and one of the reasons that happened is because my corporate job had a very strict kind of no moonlighting policy, if you will. So it didn't feel an integrity for me to go and I trust me, I built a little bit of infrastructure, but I didn't build the whole thing and build it up and start earning money and then quit. I just quit with no clients. So I thought I was going to build an executive coaching exclusive company, and that wasn't coming into fruition because I hadn't done enough kind of groundwork yet. And what I ended up doing, as it was still a little quiet, there was actually a human resources executive search firm here in California. And I knew them. They had tried to recruit me many times throughout the years, calling me for full-time jobs, but they had a small advisory division. So I contacted them when I was still in my corporate job to say, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, but just kind of want to put this on your radar. If you know anybody looking for executive coaching or something like that, keep me in mind. Never heard from them again. And then as days were becoming a little too empty, I thought, I want to call them back and see, just remind them, hey, I'm here. And I called them and she said, I thought you started your own company. I said, well, I did. But actually, I have a little bandwidth. In case you have clients who might need some HR advisory work, I have just a little bandwidth. I had a lot of bandwidth. And literally a couple days later, they called and said, would you be interested in helping one of our clients? Would you be interested in being kind of an interim HR director and come in for a couple of months and help them out? I said, yeah, that sounds great. And that's been a revenue stream for me this whole time, has been doing these interim HR director type of assignments where I kind of parachute in and help someone and then parachute out.
Is it full-time temporarily or part-time temporarily, or?
It is a little bit of both depending on the assignment, but I'm helping a company now where it is mostly full-time, but they are looking for a full-time chief people officer. That's the role I'm in now. They're looking for a full-time. So I know that it will end, and that's okay with me. People are like, do you want to stay? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'd love to come in and help, but I will go and then go on to my next thing. So
we have a lot of people that we work with there that are like fractional CFOs or fractional CMOs, chief marketing officers, chief financial officers. And so this is the first fractional chief people officer I've heard about, but very cool.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it. And the word fractional was new to me, but now I get it. I understand it. And that's exactly what it is. Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I want to go back because right now you're saying like, no, I'm holding my ground. I am my own boss now. I'm not going to go full time. But you were saying that you almost did. And as a solopreneur, you have those highs of like, I'm my own boss, I'm my own schedule, but you have those lows of imposter syndrome, which we all get. And it's the worst. How can people build mental resilience? How did you do that? How did you initially end up fighting off that imposter syndrome and be like, you know what? Nope. I am sending my kid to college on my terms. I am living my life on my terms. Like, see a corporate.
Yes, it's such a daily just exercise. I'll call it. I won't call it a battle. It's a daily exercise of, and I can't do it alone. I listen to podcasts. I look at books. I look at blogs. I talk to friends. I think you have to keep. For me, I need that inspiration, that motivation. So probably on a daily basis, I'm doing something. I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm reading a few pages of a book, or I actually joined in 2023 a mastermind group. So these are people also doing the same thing. So it's having these like-minded people in your corner who, when you're having a down day or a down time, kind of help pull you up. So I feel like it is a solopreneur, but it's also having those cheerleaders, that support system around you to keep you going in that way. So I could not do it alone. I would be in the corner crying. I need the support. And again, it could be a book. It can be very simple, but for me, that really helps.
Well, it's so funny you said that because I talked about my LinkedIn post earlier about courage, but what it was really about, it was a shout out to the solopreneur community as a whole, not our specific one, but just anybody that's in this world, because we have just found that people don't see each other as competition. They see each other as support systems. And it's just been so amazing to witness because we work with solopreneurs all day, every day. it's such like a warm hug. That's the only way I could explain it is you don't see the rivalry. You see the cheerleaders, like you were just saying. And so I'm so happy you found that for yourself as well.
Yes, definitely. The camaraderie is useful. And it's interesting because there are people that I know that are doing very similar things to me. And it can seem like competition. It's like, why does she have 10 clients and I only have 2? Like, what is that? But I also do think that we're all unique individuals, and maybe, everybody's going to resonate differently with a different person, and you bring your own magic and your own experience to a client interaction. So I don't see it as competition. It's just everybody's offering or bringing something different to the table as the solopreneur working with the client. We all have a little bit of a different flavor. So that's just everybody's uniqueness. I don't see it as competition.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, the other thing I like about you is you seem to figure out how your career can play into your life and that it hasn't completely taken over your life. And that's exactly what we're about at Lifestar, is creating a career while having a living at the same time. And you have a values audit, if I'm not mistaken, and like that helps people with decision making based on their core values. Can you walk us through those steps? Because I think that would be so helpful for people looking to be in that position.
Yes. And the values audit is in the book. So check that out when you get a chance. And just full disclosure, this is something I came upon in one of my corporate jobs. And it's called the Leadership Challenge. And you can go get the book. It's actually one of my favorite business books, the Leadership Challenge. And I learned it when my company was hosting a leadership challenge training managers how to be better leaders. There's kind of 5 key elements for the leadership challenge. But the other thing we did in this training is that we did a values audit, and there are maybe 70 different values that you can look through and choose from. So the exercise was to look at all, and there were cards at this exercise with a different word on it. And the exercise was to go through this entire deck of cards and pull out your top 10 values that really or really resonate with you, are core to you, are key to you, or really what drives your decision making. And I write in the book that one of the cards I pulled out, this is maybe 6 years ago, one of the cards I pulled out back then was freedom. And I was sitting at a small group table, and we were supposed to go around the table and share our top 10 values. And as people went around the table, some of their values were achievement and, all these different things. I thought, okay, this freedom card feels really stupid. I feel dumb. I should put away the freedom card. Like, I feel dorky. So I did. But I came to learn a little later, especially as I was getting ready to leave corporate. No, freedom, like that is a value of mine. I do value freedom in many ways, like let freedom ring, but freedom in how I want to design my day, freedom in who I want to work with, freedom in all of those different things. So I think that the values audit, one of the cards that's been, or one of my values that I've had for many, many, many years is integrity. Like I take integrity, I've had integrity as a value since I was a kid and bring that with me. But through the values audit, I realized that some of my values shift just a little bit. For example, the freedom, it's like now here today, like freedom feels very important or more important as a value. So that's something I bring up to the top. And that helps me make decisions. Like, is this decision going to support my freedom and my flexibility is another value, but maybe it's more flexibility is what I'm looking for. But will this decision help support my flexibility? Because when there's flexibility, I feel good. Like I feel better in my body and my mind. So it's really just taking time to think about those things. And I know we're busy, we're running it and we're going. And sometimes we just don't stop to say, like, am I aligned with kind of like what makes me feel good? And so I do think that the values audit is something, I've had my kids do it. I think it's something that's really interesting and fascinating.
I think it's funny that you said that you put away the freedom card, because I feel like, and I think it's getting better now with remote work and flexible work and just the way that like the workforce is these days. But I feel like freedom used to equate to laziness almost. Like people didn't, like if you weren't going 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night, like you're lazy. And it's like, that is not true. It means you prioritize. I mean, I think it's so funny. My dad is very old school. When I joined the workforce, it was 9 to 5. Like, make sure you have benefits. Never leave a job without another job lined up. Joe, I'm sure you said this to your girl too. But it was very strict. And so when I had my first remote job, it was kind of like, whoa, like you can be self-motivated. You don't need a babysitter. And so I think it's so funny you said that. And for people that are struggling to articulate that or for leaving their job, freedom and flexibility does not mean you're lazy. It means you know what you want.
Absolutely.
You gotta understand that, the whole freedom thing, this predates you, was the kind of keyword for the hippies. I want to be free. And they were kind of like traveling around in Volkswagen buses and getting stoned and going to concerts. And so that's, I think, where this stigma came from originally in terms of freedom.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why do you think I hit that card? Like, they're going to think I'm that. It's like, that's not really what I'm getting at. But yeah, it's like, let's hide the card. But I think freedom too, or flexibility, as far as being lazy, maybe that means that I completely structure my day in 4 hours. I'm very efficient. So it can mean, it's like, I want freedom and flexibility to have like a really tight schedule and be really efficient so that I can go do different things for the rest of my day that fill me up. So yeah, it's not lazy. It's having a different mindset to how you approach your work or your life.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm glad we're talking about mindset, because that is something that I think another mindset hurdle people have is the financial mindset. And we always say, like, just because you're in a salaried position or at a corporate job, that's a false safety net. You could get fired at any minute. So I mean, how can people mentally prepare financially for this jump?
This is tricky too, because, and I've read a lot about money mindset, and many people have money mindset challenges, or just what they grew up saying as true or accurate or correct. I mean, my mom was very, very frugal growing up. And even I was having a conversation with her a week ago, and I'm thinking about moving to a different city. And she says, I was reading in the Wall Street Journal that city is very, very expensive, very expensive, very, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's like, and she just keeps bringing her limited beliefs to me. I'm like, maybe I can afford it, Mom. I don't know. Maybe I'll find, maybe it'll all work out for me. So I think that we bring a lot of beliefs and baggage, for lack of a better word, from our upbringing on what we saw money as how it all worked. So this is something that I've had to work on for a long time. It's still a work in progress. And believing that, also believing, especially leaving a corporate job, it's like that corporate safety net. It's like, is it really there? And having worked in human resources, yes, you might get laid off. You might lose your job. I mean, this is not your company, it's their company. So don't think that there is safety. So it is, especially in preparing for leaving corporate, I had to read a lot of books to get my mindset right. I did have to set my financial runway just to make sure I had about a year of money. But it's something, it's a little gremlin, I like to call it, just a little gremlin that peeks up and pokes up. It's like, oh, you're not making enough, or this month was, it tells you, it says all kinds of things to me. So it's something that I have to work with on a regular basis, and really trying to be strong about expecting that if I'm doing the right things and all of that it is going to, the money will come with my efforts.
Do you remember any of those books that you read?
Yes. The book is called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And this is a book, no joke, that I open and read a few pages, usually every day or a few times a week. And it's a really interesting read. It's a really fantastic money. I mean, I hate to keep using the word money mindset, but just money belief book about unwinding those beliefs that don't serve you. That is definitely a book I recommend. There's also a woman I follow online. Her name is Amanda Francis. She talks a lot about money and just belief and I would say acquiring money feels too strong, but attracting money, believing that money is coming to you. So I use a lot of different resources, but those are two.
We will add those to the show notes, and I will add those to my personal list.
Okay.
So the other thing that I wanted to pick your brain about is money. Like, so you were saying earlier that you had, you built a community of people that you can reach out to. You have a mastermind, you have that support system.
Yes.
But I think something that people struggle with is finding the right partners and trusting the right partners, especially if they're you said you pivoted from what you were originally going to do, and maybe people have people in mind that they can rely on, but then they pivot what they're doing and they're kind of starting from nothing. How do you know if it's a working relationship worth building? What are some red flags? How do you find trust in the workforce when you're alone?
That is such an interesting question. And I have, let's say, done a lot of trial and error in that in the last 2 years, where I think someone might be, so I mean, I'm a solopreneur. So if I work with anybody, it would be a vendor, someone I hire to help on an hourly basis or a project basis. And it's interesting because having come from human resources, I'm used to interviewing people and screening people and trying to know who's right. But I have found as a solopreneur, unfortunately, I've been attracted to I have a little bit of shiny object syndrome, thinking that someone knows more than me, someone could do better than me, and I should trust them and believe them because they know better. And I don't, because I'm new over here in this arena. I'm okay in corporate, but in this arena, I'm learning. And what I've learned is, wait a minute, I got to give myself a little more credit. I'm not as newbie as I maybe think I am. I think I have a little more experience and wherewithal. So I've entered into some working partnerships that haven't worked out. So those have been hard learnings, because I did trust that someone was smarter than me. I did trust that someone knew better than me. I did trust that someone could really show me the way, and they were able to deliver as I had hoped. So I'm also in a little bit of a season where I need to, as far as working with new partners, new vendors or such, need to be really, really careful about my expectations, because I feel that there's been a little bit of a disconnect with some of them, that they haven't met my expectations. And I have to turn the mirror back at me and say, well, did you really screen enough, or did you really vet enough, or did you really let them know specifically what you wanted? So I've had a couple personal misses in that way. So it's a lot of personal reflection and try to keep doing better.
And sometimes you don't give yourself credit for what you know. You know more than you think, and you go, wait, I'm paying somebody to tell me this. I knew that. I mean, it does happen. So
it does happen. It's really disappointing. It's disappointing. It hurts.
Well, and it's funny, Joe and I have actually run into this with a few marketing agencies. My background is in marketing and working with agencies. And so I feel like I'm going in like this, I know exactly what we're going to look for. And we have not had the best experiences. We think we're vetting them correctly. And then it's a lot of over-promising and under-delivering.
Yes, you put it perfectly. I find the same thing. And I mean, even when I journal or think about what I want, I really do try to, it's like I want people that really nurture me and take care of me as business partners, and people that really over deliver. And I've had all these misses, and it's like, what is it? And again, I can only turn it back at me that I'm doing something. I need to fine tune something. So it's interesting.
So I'm developing a concept that it's a hashtag hire a solopreneur, because every time I've done a solopreneur, I've been happy.
Oh, fantastic.
We've got a number of solopreneurs working with Lifestar, and they're all awesome.
And, Joe, keep going.
That's fantastic.
Feel free to keep talking if you want. I love to hear what you're about to say.
Tell me more.
I just am so curious when I talk to people that jump ship, because that's just something that I think we all struggle with. So I'm glad you were able to shed light on that.
But what was that? That hashtag was life leap.
Oh yeah,
remember?
We did have that hashtag.
Yeah, so that was like when you leave your job and go straight into a solopreneur.
We're basically trendsetters
venture.
over here.
Yeah. Hashtag life leap.
I love it.
Well, so Kate, I want to ask you, you have redefined success for yourself. What does success look like for you right now, and how can people determine that for themselves?
Success for me at this stage, and I go back to those little values cards, is that flexibility. Am I having a day where I'm doing work that I really love, that lights me up? Am I having a day where I have enough time to feel really good that I spent quality time with I have one child at home now, one son at home, I have one at college, but did I get some quality time with him? Did I get to go out and take a walk like I wanted to? Did I go to the grocery store and not have to run in and run out in 30 seconds? So just really trying to plan my day in a way that's a little more easeful. When I was in my last corporate job, I also had a commute that was really just insane. And I was always racing from one thing to the other, racing to the office, racing home, racing to go get my lunch, I just felt like I was racing for many, many years. And that can really do a number on your nervous system where you're like, okay, do I have PTSD? Like, well, I am so spun up right now. I'm so wound up. So this chapter has also been about trying to exhale and like just regain some calm and some ease and some peace. So that is really fulfilling for me is doing great work. And I love my career. I love what I do, but also balancing some other things. And I work from home, work remote, which is also now my commute's 30 seconds. And it just feels a lot more calm for me. So that's just been really important in this chapter as well, is just finding that, just not racing the clock all the time.
Yeah. Well, Kate, we've come to this part of the episode. You were just talking about how you define success, and we ask all of our guests what their favorite quote about success is. So do you have one for us?
There is a quote from the book, The Secret, that I came upon many, many years ago when I was first starting a lot of personal change in my life. And the quote, and I'm not sure who said it, but it is in the book, The Secret: money comes easily and frequently. And back, this is a decade ago when I was thinking about making some personal changes and business changes. And I was having some money challenges, we'll say. I just maybe wasn't earning enough as I wanted to or had hoped to at that point in my life. I began saying this mantra very regularly when I was driving, when I was doing whatever, just to really have that be in my mind and have it be just something I was mindful about, or it was present in my mind. And I actually found that was really did, honestly, I mean, I know it's just a mantra or an affirmation, but it really did help me go back to that quote and think about, money does come easily and frequently. So it's something I still break out every now and again. But yeah, I mean, it's and the success part of that is just the mindset of it, just anchoring into what can be true for you if you want to believe it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that is so relevant to our discussion so far and for people wanting to take the leap, just to say that you'll be okay financially. One foot forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hey, I have so enjoyed this conversation, and it's made me so excited to read your book as well. So for people wanting to read your book, wanting to learn more about you, where can they find all of the above?
Yeah, so I'm excited to say the book is out finally. It's been a labor of love. It's out. It's on Amazon, and I believe many other outlets, barnesandnoble.com probably at this point, but for sure in amazon.com. It's called A Candid Conversation: Lessons in Life, Love, and Leadership. So I'm excited about that. And you can find me on Instagram at the Kate Walker, or LinkedIn, Kate Walker, SPHR. And then there's my website, which is just katewalker.com.
Wonderful. Well, all of these will be in the show notes. And we're just so excited for you. Big congratulations again. Thank you so much for coming on this show. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you so much, Carly and Joe. Honestly, I feel like I want to be friends with you. So
likewise.
Join our community. We'll send you a link.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's be besties.
Since you are me, that we have that covered. But this has been great. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. And we will be back next week with another episode of the One Person Business Podcast. See you next time.
Bye.